Hello everybody, this is Jeremy Telthanada. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new XBus from Kiive Audio. If we take a look at the screen right here, we can see this is its UI. It's very simple. On the top you have a preset menu, you have your input and output gains. You can link this or unlink this. You have the high frequency or the oversampling. You have your A/B knob, undo, redo, and resizing. Very straightforward. But we have the XBus controls right here under this. You can see this is basically designed like two 500 series modules. You have your threshold, you have your makeup gain. You can link this so it has automatic makeup gain. You have mid-side, mono, stereo, all the modes you need. You can link or unlink each individual side, and then you have your attack and release controls. Now these are stepped, basically exactly like an SSL bus compressor, where you have 0.1, 0.3, 1, 3, 10, and 30. Those are in milliseconds, so it would be 30 milliseconds or 0.01 milliseconds. You have the release, which is basically in, I believe, 100 millisecond increments. So it should be 100, 200, 400, 800, and then 1.6 seconds, and then an auto mode. But you have the attack and release mod, which allows you to have a much more smooth variable attack and release. It kind of acts like the K-strips attack and release knobs for their SSL section. You have your ratio control, which is from 1.5 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, and then 20 to 1. I think 20 to 1 might be emulating the crush button that you get when you use the C2 bus compressor, because this is kind of based off of the C2 bus compressor, except it has a lot more that the C2 doesn't. And if you don't know, the C2 bus compressor is basically a recreation of the SSL bus compressor made by someone who used to work for SSL. They've added modifications and they've changed some certain things, but basically they kept it as a faithful recreation, made a little bit more flexible. The cool thing is the advanced panel here. You have sidechain EQ, and this isn't just a high pass filter. This is a high pass filter, a low pass filter, and a mid frequency bell. This can be plus and minus 12 dB and goes from 150 hertz all the way up to 5K. The high pass filter is from 10 kilohertz all the way to 500 hertz. And then the low pass is from 20K all the way down to 1K. You can listen to this, and then you have your saturation. This is pre or post compression, but this is also pre-dry wet knob. So keep that in mind. Your distortion will not affect the dry wet signal. It will only affect the compressed signal. I actually think that's a very good thing, because when you are doing aggressive compression, like what I'm about to show you guys, you want to be able to have a clean side. You have a headroom control that's basically controlling how much headroom the unit has, and that's it. Very simple, very easy. So what I want to do is bypass my Nfuse, bypass the XBus, and throw in a brand new instance. Boom, right there. So the XBus is basically an SSL style or an SSL-esque compressor, and I really like those for getting a very nice, smooth, and punchy tone, which is why on the Nfuse I always have the SSL bus compressor on. And then when they added the ability to have the SSL fusion compressor along with it, I just never changed it. It never goes into Neve mode. It's perfect this way. But I want to try this out. I want to see how this sounds, because I tend to do a little bit of over compression on this, but not too much, because you can't do too much to dial it back. But we probably can on the XBus. So let's take a listen. This is it stock. We're going to bypass the advanced section, and let's just see how it sounds. Right there, sounds good. Now, if you listen to this, it has a little bit of a punchy tone for the drums. So we're going to try to do some nice compression. And I'm going to show you what basically happens with VCA style compressors very often, where it's going to eat away at the low end a little bit. So those settings, let's see if we can get a similar setting with the Nfuse. We're going to bypass every other module, which really hurts me, because I love every module on the Nfuse. No high frequency compressor. And let's just see. So we have a, what is it? 2-to-1 ratio. and the attack is at 3, release is at 2. Cool. Let's get the same amount of compression. Here we go. So what I'm hearing on the XBus is that the Nfuse's SSL is snappier, a little bit punchier. But I think it's because the XBus is very, very well based off of this C2, which is a recreation of the SSL bus compressor with some modifications. You don't have a 20:1 ratio on the SSL bus compressor. This does. I think that emulates the crush bus, which is basically designed, or the crush button, which is designed to give you a slammed sound. The modification of having the fast and slow attack and release is also very different, but I'm definitely hearing a different tone, which is really cool because it means this isn't just a reuse of code. This is a different emulation of a different unit. So let's see what we can do with this. Okay, this is way too much compression, and you hear that? You hear that like, this is doing a ton of compression. But it's kind of doing something I like. I'm digging the tone. It's just doing too much of it. So now let's dial in this sidechain EQ. Cool. So we've basically shaped the EQ a little bit. Compressor is triggered a little bit more on the frequencies of the vocal that are just too much for me. And now let's dial in the saturation.
Mr. Hakim on bass from Paris.
That's sounding pretty good, actually. Now it's obviously over compressing, and this is where we're going to use the dry wet mix to dial in more or less compression. Cool, so the artifacting of having way too much compression is almost completely gone. And now it has energy, it has density. Listen to it one more time. Bypass. It's a little bit thicker, a little bit denser, but it's not too controlled. But it is missing a little bit something. I feel like it could add some oomph to it, right? And that's why I like to mix into the Nfuse And I know I've been talking about this plugin ever since it came out, but I really do love it. Turning on that Neve style harmonic saturation, the dark and shine, just turning on all the modules themselves will add a nice coloration. And then the stereo width that the Neve has is just so cool, especially because you can dial in the high frequencies that are going to be spread and not spread. The XBus does have a stereo width control, but it doesn't have the crossover. And I think that if Kiive Audio added that in a later date, just like a little knob for a crossover to prevent it from spreading certain frequencies that shouldn't be spread or that you don't want spread, I think it would be amazing. But keep in mind that this width control will not make mono signals stereo. It is completely just mid-side. So, you know, you're not going to ruin your stereo image. It's going to just make the stereo stuff a little bit louder, a little bit wider. And it's really cool, but I really like the way they modeled the Neve one, the Rupert Neve design one on the Nfuse. So I'm going to use the Nfuse. But here, let's bypass all the mix bus processing. And you notice that when I bypass the XBus, even with the Nfuse on, the Nfuse is adding air, brightness, more punch, more low end. But the XBus, when I take it out of the mix, it loses density and it loses energy. It just sounds like it's now doing this. Whereas with it on, it sounded very thick, but also still had the dynamics because I was using a mostly dry blend. I was just tucking in some of that really heavily compressed at a low ratio, by the way, signal. And that's kind of a trick, is using the low ratio means that it's always going to have a lot of gooiness to it. It's not going to sound slammed. So it doesn't matter, even if I am putting in what, like 40% or 45% at times, it still sounds very natural because it's at a very low ratio. So really cool plugin. I really like it. The only thing I want is a little side chain of what's going to be spread, but that's just because I'm spoiled with the Nfuse. This, along with like all this new stuff like the K-strip, the Nfuse, there's so much stuff. It's hard to remember. I have like every one of their plugins, but Kiive Audio did an amazing job. I'm going to leave a link down below. Please download and grab a demo. And if you haven't, download and grab a demo of Nfuse. I'm not joking. I make no money. There's no pressure to this. I use Nfuse every single day. And I really, really do like the XBus. I use the K-strip all the time. Anyway, that's it for this video. I will leave you guys here. Again, links are down below. Leave comments. I actually like reading the comments. So with that said, I'll see you guys later. Bye.